What is up, diehards? Wes Monell in the building for AWOL Sports with Dill Monell, Drew Lacuesta. We got the Fantasy Flash today. We're going to go through 10 topics to help you out. All right, let's stick in the backfield. Drew, a division closer to home for you. We saw Elijah Mitchell break out as the rookie we didn't see coming in San Francisco. We have Rashad Penny, breakout season in his own right after injuries the first couple of seasons for him. Kind of happy for the guy, to be honest. That's pretty cool. He had a good year and he'll get a chance this year. Unfortunately, Chris Carson, neck injury. Who knows there? That's entirely up in the air. I'm just glad the guy's okay. James Conner, man, Pittsburgh moved on from him. He comes in, 18 touchdowns in totality, man. That is just ridiculous. Conner can do it all, man. He is a 3-down back. Something you can say about a lot of guys is they've been banged up. This is football. It's just the reality. This is football, man. And then Cam Akers coming back from injury. This dude's got a lot of promise. He did great as a rookie. Got hurt last year. So entering 2022, one of the toughest divisions in football, if not the toughest, especially defensively, which is why these guys are so important. They got to keep their QBs upright. They got to keep their team in the game. Their recipe for success in this division, maybe the Rams are more balanced and maybe the Cardinals lean towards the pass, but Seattle and San Fran got to keep that ball on the ground. That's how they're going to be in any game, let alone win. Drew, you're on the clock. Which one of these four is the best running back for fantasy football this year?
With a year like Connor had last year, it's hard not to take him first because, we've seen a lot of the times that Sean McVay is known to abandon the run early. Obviously, being a Rams fan, I've seen it happen time and time again. And the recent injury does scare me, although he did come back later in the year into the playoffs and show that it wasn't an issue. Just the dynamic of the teams, especially with Matt Stafford's new toy, Allen Robinson, you can count on him trying to test that out in the early weeks of this upcoming season. Connor showed us whether it was Arizona or Pittsburgh, both teams were willing to give him the rock and just let him go. And he's a hard guy to bring down. He's a guy that'll be bouncing off the first, second, third, maybe fourth hit and still gaining positive yardage. I want to say I would take Cam Akers ahead of him because I do feel like Cam Akers has a bigger upside. But I'll probably take Connor first. Cam would probably fall second. I had Elijah last year. The only thing that does worry me with that San Francisco backfield, yes, of course, no matter who you put back there, they are going to produce. If they're the starting running back on that game day, you can guarantee 80 to 120 yards and at least maybe 1.5 touchdowns. The only thing is that could also be a negative side because no matter who is in that backfield, if Elijah misses one game, that scheme, we've seen multiple, probably 10 plus running backs in that scheme. If they get the starting nod, they're going to produce too. Who knows if Shanahan's going to ride the hot hand or not? We've seen him go from one running back to the other and then ride with that second or third back. That's the only thing that worries me about Elijah. I don't deny his talent at all. Yes, he was a late round pick. I think it was 6th round for Elijah, but still, it could go both ways. I know during the draft and during the season, you and I were both battling, if he's got a jersey that says San Francisco on it and he's a running back on that roster, you're taking him. I don't care if he's 4th or 5th on the depth chart. At some point, especially when Mostert was there, we know he's going to get nicked up and miss at least 3 to 6 games, and it happened. Whoever was starting in San Francisco, they were getting burned. And I know you put another guy on there. I don't even know who that is. I'm just
Talk
kidding.
about Rashad
I'm
Penny.
just kidding. I'm
I
just
know.
a lot of promise for that kid. He was an LA homer. He went to USC.
Mhm.
A lot of promise for that kid with his speed and his ability to cut and go, but he just hasn't played, man. So he's got to be 4th.
Those are nice numbers for a guy that didn't play last year. Man, Dill, what do you think of this division of backs for fantasy?
Yeah, again, it's going to be a tough division, right? Just talking about like the real life perspective, offensive, defensive schemes, and just the type of battles that these games usually bring. It's, awesome just to watch from a fan's perspective. So Yeah, it probably sucks as a fan of one of these teams though, because that brings a lot of pain, but a lot of great games for television. But I think honestly at this point, shout out to Rashad Penny as well. Awesome for him again going through a slew of injuries. I still probably would draft him, I guess, fourth out of this bunch here. Even with Chris Carson probably not playing, I'm going to err on that side at this point based on all the news I've been seeing. And I think he's going to have an opportunity. It's just, again, it comes down to similar questions as Cordell Patterson in Atlanta, right? Like, what's going on with that offense? Is Drew Lock really their guy? Like, are they really truly in love with them like they're saying that they are? Or are they just trying to get, another quarterback at a better price, right? Maybe you wait out Baker, Jimmy G to, get cut and, kind of go from there, right? And just continue to save face and say, hey, Drew Lock is our guy. And at least at the minimum, you get to kind of let him let loose, right? So again, that offense just scares me. I'm running away from it, even though I do like Tyler Lockett still. I think he's going to be kind of an outlet for Drew Lock there. We'll see what his connection is with DK, but I would only invest truly in the passing game in Seattle. If you're going to touch anyone in fantasy football, it would be the receivers. I don't think it should be any of the running backs. At this point, as far as the top dog, I still got to go with my guy Cam Akers. So, truly awesome just to see him come back last year. And maybe it's just blind faith, but I think they do plan on utilizing him maybe a little bit more, right? He's healthy again, get that off season under him. And like you just said, a new toy in the passing game. Shouldn't that be able to open it up a little bit more, even with the favorable schemes that McVay is able to come up with? So I think Cam Akers can benefit off that because I think he's a great athlete and the best just pure running back on the team. So I think over, Henderson or just anyone else that's going to be there, like a Jake Funk, and he's going to be able to capitalize on some of these opportunities because you have Cooper Kupp running wild, and then you have Allen Robinson hopefully showing, that he truly still has it at this point in the process. Man, Connor, this situation definitely is very unique, right? Because I'm rooting for the guy. I think he's a great player, but I actually would prefer to have Darrell Williams over him if I'm going into the season, because I think that's a great opportunity and a little opportunity for people to get extreme value. Because again, I hate talking about this, but this is the game of fantasy football, right? What if somebody gets injured? Who's that next person in line? Like we're talking about those San Francisco running backs. Darrell Williams has been able to do it all, right? He's been able to, run up the middle. He's going to the sidelines. He can catch the ball, and he's great in the red zone. That sounds just like what James Conner did for them last season, right? So I just can't see them committing a full workload, maybe like they did last year, even though he was that special. But I think maybe they scaled it back a little bit. And so Conner worries me, and I think where his draft position might be is going to be a little too rich for my blood. So I would still say, hey, I'd feel comfortable drafting him second out of these bunch of guys because of that uncertainty in San Francisco. Like you said, you throw a jersey on a running back there, they're probably at least getting you 80 yards and probably a touchdown. I don't think anyone's going to get upset over that, especially as a running back 2 or flex spot if you're mulling over a couple options. So I think at this point I go Cam Akers 1, Connor 2 with that little asterisk. I'd rather draft Darrell Williams a little later, and then I go with any San Francisco running back and then Penny.
Damn, you guys sound pretty similar, to be honest. I am totally out on Cam Akers. He's not an RB1 to me. I'd rather be wrong about it than have him on my team and be wrong about it. I'm totally out. There's no need to. You have Darrell Henderson, guy that started a lot of games. There's no need for it. Matthew Stafford's the engine on that team. He's going to throw the ball. McVay can't help it. Even if he didn't have Stafford. When he had Goff, he just loved throwing the football. They got a new toy in A-Rob. They're going to throw it more. If you thought Cooper Kupp's going to threaten for 2K or something, they're going to throw it. And coming off of injury, I know he came back last season. He's crazy. He's a warrior. Not for me in fantasy. No thanks. Maybe if he slips and I can sneak him in as a RB2 if I'm going wide receiver early or something like that. It scares me a little bit with Cam. I got to see it. I want to see it this year before I dive into that. James Conner, I buy it, but Dill, like you said, Williams is a pretty good handcuff to have, and he might actually be seen as more than a handcuff. Chase Edmonds had a role in this offense, scaling it back. It seems like it's going to be inevitable. You scale it back, you could probably keep Connor on the field. So that's probably a good plan. If you're in a standard league, why, first of all? But second of all, yeah, James Conner probably takes the cake on paper out of anyone that you're looking at here in standard leagues. Worth the risk. He probably is the guy. PPR, half PPR, whatever. Um, in a perfect world, if all these guys were healthy and continue their workload like they ended last season, Rashad Penny on paper and healthy might be the one that gets the most yards out of any of these guys, but there's a reality to it. He hasn't been that guy. He hasn't been able to do that. I'm stoked. I'm hyped for him on that last year. I hope it carries over into this season, and Seattle fans do too. They're going to bank on him a lot. But after listening to you guys speak about this division of backs, and Drew, he's from SDSU, by the way. It seems like indirectly you guys are screaming Kenneth Walker. They drafted him in the second round, and it seems like he's going to get playing time, whether it's because it's a committee ran in Seattle or Penny gets nicked up again. But like you guys, I have Penny last on this list. I have Cam just ahead of him at third. Connor at second to start the season. First on this list, I do have that San Francisco back. I freaking love Elijah Mitchell. Drew, every week I would stare at your team and it pissed me off. I chose the wrong back. But man, I think this guy is the real deal. He's got the similar stature as Dalvin Cook. Cook's got maybe 5 pounds on him. I think he's built to last, Duralast. I think he's in the perfect offense. Shanahan, I don't think they're going to roll with Jimmy G, to be honest. But even if they didn't, even if they went with the young gun and Lance, wouldn't a mobile quarterback help the running back out in fantasy? And that answer is yes, every single time. We know the Niners have the coach and the recipe for success in running the football, even if it doesn't look like they have the talent. In reality, it looks like, Kittle scaled back a little bit, got nicked up a little bit, but even when he was on the field, it didn't look like he was going to pop off like Mark Andrews did last season or like Kittle did prior. If we're playing the betting game and playing the odds, Deebo Samuel's in line for a setback to some extent. And that offensive production, it may not be Deebo Samuel's, it may not be in his best interest, might be a regression, but it's got to pick up somewhere if they're going to be competitive, which they are every season. I think it's going to that man right there, Elijah Mitchell. Do you guys not buy him? Because I keep hearing you guys say San Francisco running backs.
No, I definitely buy him. I like Elijah a lot. He was on my team. I watched him every week. There's something about, we talked about this a little bit the other night, actually. There's something about the San Francisco running backs that it's not Elijah Mitchell that I'm worried about. It's more of how Shanahan feels versus whatever game plan he has. That little opportunity that might give to the second or third running back on the depth chart. If they do, for some reason, have an outbreak, maybe 1 or 2 weeks in a row, I could see something shifting. It's not going to be something new that we've seen from the Shanahan offense. That's the only reason. I think the kid is crazy talented, but just only that situation. That's the only reason why.
Okay. Dill, similar with the Niner backfield for you?
I just gotta imagine. I know at least a lot of people in the fantasy community really love Trey Sermon, coming into the season and, felt that he was going to make an impact. So, guys like that, or, Jeff Wilson, and I think JaMychal Hasty's still there. So kind of like, Drew was talking about, if those, guys, one of those guys put 1, 2, 3 good games together in a row, yeah, I can see them getting a little bit more time. But again, it has nothing to do with Mitchell. I agree. I think he is the best back in the room at this point. I think he should be that number 1 running back and, be able to utilize him as he can, see fit. But I think they're going to still distribute the rock in that regard and, be able to utilize their best weapon in, the best opportune moments and not just give them a little too much to carry throughout a 17-game season at least.
All right. All right. And then just one last nugget on that, man. Rashad Penny ran over 100 yards 4 times last season. Elijah Mitchell 5 times. Um, kind of neck and neck right there. I kind of looked up Connor, man, and I don't see that he did it one time. But hey, he got into that end zone. He used the hammer for the Cardinals, man.